Hello everyone, welcome to the Crystaly Recapped channel. And now you are going to hear a short retelling of the movie The Mad Women's Ball. Eugenia, along with thousands of people, is seeing the famous writer Hugo off to his last journey. During the ceremony, the girl has a fit, but manages to stop in time. Late for dinner, Eugenia lies to her parents that she was visiting a friend, and only her brother Théophile smiles calmly, realizing that his sister is not telling the truth. To change the subject, the boy starts talking about the upcoming debate, and Eugenia asks permission to attend the event with her brother. But her father sharply refuses, reminding her that it is not appropriate for a lady to participate in such events. Before going to bed, the girl goes to the bathroom and has another fit, during which she talks to someone. But Eugenia pulls herself together again. She notices her grandmother behind the door, waiting for her granddaughter for the usual evening ritual. In the morning, Théophile prepares for the debate and finds his sister in his carriage, whom his father had strictly forbidden to go. But the girl is not going to the meeting, but only asks her brother to take her to the outskirts of the city, where she can read a book and smoke in secret from her strict parents. Although the boy is not happy about this idea and his participation, he cannot refuse his beloved sister. After buying a fresh bun, Eugenie enters a simple coffee shop where she reads poetry while sipping a cigarette and looking at the guy at the next table. Noticing this, the stranger strikes up a conversation and lends her a book about ghosts, leaving a note with his name on the first page and promising to meet her again to return the book. In the evening, while reading the book, Eugenie tells her brother about her encounter, and he listens to her read with his head on his sister's lap. The next day, the family arrives at the neighboring estate where Théophile's fiancée lives. This union is very important to the father, and he is extremely unhappy when Eugenia insults the young woman again. This causes a conflict in the family. Christmas Eve. Eugenia and Théophile are putting up the Christmas tree, and the young people go up to the attic to get the Christmas decorations. At this point, she has another fit and admits that she now sees many different spirits, not just one man. Eugenia talks frankly with her brother and asks him not to be afraid, because the book that the guy in the cafe lent her says that there are many people like her. Eugenia goes back to her grandmother's bedroom to comb her hair and put her to bed, but at some point she drops everything she's doing and starts rummaging through the closet. She finds a pendant that her relative lost 40 years ago. When her grandmother asks how she learned about him, the girl admits that her late grandfather told her. In the morning, her worried mother wakes her up and tells her that she and her father are leaving for the neighboring estate again, so the woman asks her daughter to behave well and not say anything unnecessary. Noticing the tears in her mother's eyes, Eugenia thinks that it is only concern about her behavior, so she hugs her mother and goes to visit her unsuspectingly. On the way, Eugenia notices her father's traveling bag and realizes that they are not going to visit. Looking out the window, she doesn't recognize the road, but when she notices the mentally ill women in the garden, she understands everything. Unfortunately, it's too late, and the carriage stops at the gates of the psychiatric hospital where her father brought Yevgenia after Theophilus shared his secret with him. The medical staff immediately took the girl in, ignoring her crying, and only Théophile could not stay calm, leaning against the carriage because he felt sick. After some deliberation, the head of the family signed a document indicating his consent to his daughter's compulsory treatment. The head nurse, Genevieve, examines the newcomer and immediately notes that any disobedience will result in solitary confinement. Eugenia goes to her bedroom and is immediately shocked by what she sees. Dozens of women, half of whom behave completely inappropriately, try to touch the young patient, but Louisa comes to the girl's aid, a girl who has obvious mental problems, but it seems that they are caused by the local treatment and environment. The patient talks a lot, telling about her engagement to a young doctor, Jules, about the fact that the clinic organizes a costume ball every year for the rich and the bureaucrats. Over lunch, Louise introduces the newcomer to the locals, telling her in detail about each patient. The first night is very difficult for Eugenia, and she hardly sleeps. In the morning, she watches the head nurse take Louisa somewhere, and from their conversation it becomes clear that this is a common practice. Louise is brought to a large office where dozens of doctors have gathered, including Jules, who smiles at the patient without anyone noticing. The head doctor of the hospital, Dr. Charcot, begins a hypnosis session, and when the girl falls to the floor, he calmly steps over her and says goodbye to everyone until the next procedure. The patient is transferred to the nurses' station, where she regains consciousness and is visited by Dr. Jules, who escorts the medical staff out. and, taking advantage of the girl's naivety, tells her that he will soon propose to her at a costume ball. After that, the doctor puts one hand under the girl's dress and pleasures himself with the other. Taking advantage of a brief moment of free time, Genevieve runs home to visit her elderly father and have lunch with him, telling him the latest news from the clinic. When she returns to work, Genevieve goes up to the new girl, and Eugenia addresses the nurse on behalf of deceased sister. The woman does not want to listen or believe what the crazy woman is saying and orders her to shut up. The doctor examines the patient and prescribes treatment with cold water and ice, which finally breaks the girl. Théophile looks for Genevieve and asks her to help Eugenia, confessing that he is very sorry for what he has done. The man asks the nurse to give the girl a book. After thinking about it for a while, the worker agrees to give the book to the girl, but on the condition that she contacts the dead sister and helps them talk. One night, Genevieve wakes up the patient and brings her to her office where she plans to witness the ritual. For a long time, Eugenia is unable to contact the nurse's sister, but then the deceased gets in touch and tells her that father has fallen ill in their kitchen. Dropping everything, the woman runs home and indeed finds her husband after a fit. When he asks his daughter how she found out about what happened, Genevieve dares to confess, but receives only criticism and accusations of insanity from her father. After another session of hypnotherapy, Louise's legs and half of her body give out. Seeing this, Eugenia can no longer remain silent and tells the doctors everything she thinks about it, not hesitating to express herself in harsh language and accusations. For this, the girl is recognized as dangerous and transferred to a single dark ward, where a strict nurse is on duty. The patient is given food through a window at the bottom of the door. The only windows are opened only from time to time. It seems that all this therapy is only aimed at breaking the patient's will. One day, when Jana comes in, Eugenia says that she communicates with late mother and knows all her secrets. For this, the nurse uses force and releases the girl's throat only when she has no air left to breathe. Genevieve has been thinking about what happened all this time, and finally, unable to stand it, she tells the girl that she will help her get out of the clinic. She just needs to be patient. The nurse convinces Dr. Charcot that the patient has completely lost her will and is no longer dangerous. The doctor gives the go-ahead to transfer the girl back to the general ward, where everyone is preparing for the upcoming ball. Eugenia finds Louise in a wheelchair, but the girl does not lose heart and still believes in her upcoming marriage and happy future. At night, Eugenia manages to read a note that Genevieve secretly gave her. Théophile receives the same secret letter with an invitation to the ball. The ball begins, and rich and influential guests arrive at the clinic, wanting to have fun with the mentally ill patients. Théophile also arrives, and almost immediately finds his sister and asks her to dance. Jean follows them, suspecting them of conspiring with Genevieve. The fun begins. Some of the guests openly mock the strange women, while others plan to fulfill their animal fantasies by treating the patients to strong drinks and whispering tender words in their ears. Taking advantage of the commotion, Genevieve manages to quietly take Eugenia and Theophilus to her office, and having changed the girl into ordinary clothes, walks with them to the exit. Jules also managed to take advantage of the fun. Taking a chair with Louise, he brought it to the empty office and told the girl that their wedding ceremony was about to take place. Realizing that the paralyzed girl would not stand up, the doctor threw her on the table, finally achieving what he had dreamed of for so long. One of the elderly patients, who had lived in the clinic for 25 years, broke into the office and beat Jules on all important parts of her body. Jean noticed that the patient and her brother had disappeared and rushed to find them. The nurse noticed the fugitives in the corridor and raised a shout, but Genevieve managed to lead the couple out the gate, where the crew was waiting for them. The nurse herself stayed on the clinic grounds, refusing to leave with Evgenia. A year later, Eugenia writes a letter to her friend, in which she tells her that she is free and happy, living far away from everyone and no longer hiding her abilities, helping those in need. Genevieve reads it with a smile, sitting on a bench in the clinic's park. But now she walks in this park not as a nurse but as a patient. This was the price of Evgenia freedom. This is the end of the movie. That's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more videos like this.